Well, we went up there for my girlfriend wanted to run the half marathon around Central Park, so we kind of took a long weekend and went to New York. On the way back, we were going to fly from LaGuardia to Dallas. I'm not sure of the times exactly. I haven't really looked at anything that run the times down, but I think we were in the air for 20 to 30 minutes when the engine blew out of the plane. Instantly, I mean, of course you get that sinking feeling because we were at altitude. We were at 35,000 feet, I think, 32 to 35,000 feet. You could tell the engine was on the left, the plane kind of listed that way, and the sound came from that direction. It sounded like a bomb going off, and you could hear stuff hit the plane when it went off. The mask immediately dropped, and I've got a couple pilot friends, and I know that it's not uncommon to land a plane after it's blown an engine. If you've got two engines, you're still pretty good shape as long as you do the right thing and do it in a timely manner. So I thought, we're probably going to survive this. We may come out with some bumps and some bruises. I put my mask on and looked over at my girlfriend, and she didn't have hers on quite right, so I kind of helped her adjust it and get it tightened on. And we followed instructions, and the crew immediately went into a very professional mode of getting everybody squared away and ready for, what was about to. Well, they didn't have any idea what was about to happen, but they were preparing us for the situation. I didn't feel a lot when it blew. It was loud and a hissing sound. It was obvious we had a hull breach. I mean, and that was about 5 minutes after the motor. So I mean, as we're I'm sure beginning to descend, and it's almost like you're driving on a flat. You can tell that something's not quite right with the plane. You're kind of settling down, and then the window blew about 5 minutes later, and that's when I began to think, okay, we may not survive this.
So things weren't quite as instantaneous with the engine?
No, they were not. There was a lot of time to kind of settle back down, and then the window blew, and then you realize, okay, we're in a dire situation. When the window blew, it was loud. You could tell that the pressure had changed in the cabin. Like I said, my girlfriend lost her eardrum at that point. Somebody screamed, and it wasn't just a scream like something startled them. It was a scream of just utter terror. I looked over my shoulder, and I noticed two guys that were right there close by. It was almost like they were wrestling with someone. And what went through my mind, because I couldn't see from my vantage point what was happening, is that it was probably somebody that was panicking and they were trying to restrain her. So that's kind of what I thought had happened. About that time, my girlfriend pulled her mask away from her face and turned towards me and said, "We're going to die." And of course, training kind of kicks in at that point. And I said, "No, we're not going to die. Pull your seatbelt really, really tight. We've got two exits up there, exit about 2 rows behind us, or the back of the plane. When we hit, if this thing's on fire, or if we crash land, we're getting off the plane. Get to the best exit." I started kind of getting her thinking about a plan of getting out of there. The stewardess went back right after that, and she yelled for anybody that knew CPR, and I start to get up, but there's a nurse, or a lady that stands up and says, "I'm a nurse," and then another guy. And they immediately go to her, so I think, okay, they've got two people doing CPR. At that point in my mind, I thought somebody had a heart attack, probably the panicking lady. They work on her for a little while. I'm not sure of the time, but I begin to realize that they're probably fatiguing in this environment with not a lot of oxygen, so I go back to see if I can help take somebody's place giving CPR. And that's when I realized, I looked down at the poor lady and realized that she's succumbed, and that there's probably not any hope of saving her. And I reached down and tried to see if I can feel a pulse, and realized that she's not just cold, she's very cold, like she'd been outside the plane. And I offered to help with CPR, and the nurse just kind of looked at me and shook her head and said that they weren't going to need any help. So I went back and sat down.
Was that the first moment that you realized what had happened to her?
Yeah. Yeah, and I actually kind of, when I first noticed it, it caught me by surprise, and I looked at the guy that was trying to put a mask on her to give her some breaths, And he goes, she was outside the plane. She was just being held in by her seatbelt. And then I realized the situation that we were in. Somebody had thrown a seat cushion or something across the window, so we weren't losing pressure anymore. But
can you describe to me once you landed what it was like?
The smoothest landing I've ever had. She was. I can't critique a pilot because I don't know what a pilot does, but I would think it's a little more difficult to land a plane with a hull breach and an engine out. But our landing in Dallas after that was much rougher than the landing that we had in Philadelphia. So I mean, she put it down like we were on butter.
What was the scene? Was it chaos getting off the plane and first responders?
No, there was applause, and then they let us off the plane slowly, and everybody was just relieved and happy as far as that. I mean, but there was also, you know, everybody was well aware of the tragedy that had occurred up there, and there was still some, you know, solemnness amongst the crowd. But you also can't hold back the joy that you're on the ground. Yeah, I'll fly again. I'm a realist. I know the statistics are that you'd probably be better served and safer to get on an airplane than jump in a car and try to drive a place that is a long ways away.